All right. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about how to work with creators in 2026. And why I'm doing this video is because I've seen now on the timeline everybody is speaking about content creators, what is gonna happen after InfoFi, all of that. And I've been working with creators for 7+ years. Initially, I was in traditional e-com and I was working with more like normal influencers on Instagram. But over the last 6 years, I've been working purely in crypto marketing, and crypto creators has been a big part of it. So in this video, I'm gonna go over a little bit of an introduction and a little bit about me and why you should listen to me and where my experience come from, why you should work with creators, some of the classic mistakes, and then I'm gonna go into a little bit how to work with creators in the best way possible, like the best approach, selecting the right creators, and then messaging framework, because I think a lot of people neglect so many different key parts to working with creators, and messaging is one of them. And then also go over a little bit tracking and what you should look at when you work with creators, right? So a little bit of a blurry picture, and I got now short hair, but yeah, I'm one of the co-founders and managing partners at Lunar Strategy. We are a crypto marketing and advisory firm. We were founded in 2019, so we've been in the space for quite some time here. And I am also a mentor in different accelerators, and I advise a few different projects right now. And I've been working with creators more specifically for over 6 years. Spent over 5 million on creator deals, so distributed. I think probably now it's more closer to maybe like 10 million or something like that. Worked with thousands of creators, worked on marketing for projects and companies such as Cardano, Polkadot, OKX, Cookie, Aether, and a lot more. So I've been around for quite some time, and I'm going to go over a little bit my experience with creators and how it's developed over the last 6 years, essentially, and some of the best practices. So kicking off, like why you should work with creators to begin with even. And I think working with creators and influencers has been around for hundreds of years. In the normal traditional world, you see George Clooney drinking an espresso, and then everybody wants to drink an espresso. Or you see the Kardashians, they promote some IPO, and now everybody wants to buy this stock. And I think getting a celebrity or influencer endorsements builds so much trust and credibility to your brand. Because especially when you're starting off, and in crypto, the trust level is even lower than in the normal world. And when you start off and nobody really knows you, working with creators in order to bridge that gap is one of the keys, right? Both that and doing different partnerships in order to build up the trust is truly a key. So one of the reasons is it builds instant trust and credibility with your target audience. Then also, like, whenever you start off, you have a very small community, or maybe you have a non-existing community. And working with creators is basically a way for you to get the word out in another very highly engaged community, especially when you work with the right creators, so to speak. So it's a very good way to get a lot of distribution in very highly engaged communities. So that's like the two main reasons why you should work with creators. Builds instant trust and credibility. You get a lot of high engaged reach as well. It's not like Google or Facebook ads. It's very like low engagement because it's just there. But here it's like highly engaged communities, because these creators have been building the brands for years. So yeah. And then I think, depending on how you work with content creators, so if you work with some of the tier ones, you also get a little bit of that like star power and like that cool and uniqueness with a brand. But yeah, going on into a few of the classic mistakes, because I've seen over my last 6 years, I've seen people waste hundreds of thousands on botted creators, on fake creators and bad creator campaigns. I see it all the time. People do these campaigns and waste their whole marketing budget and they get zero result. And I've heard it from so many different founders. Everybody says like, oh, creator marketing doesn't work. And I've used all of these creators, and then when I take a look at the creators, it's like the worst of the worst, right? And in reality, it is very hard to work with content creators in crypto. It's a jungle out there. You see all of these botted creators, which on paper looks very good, like they have a million followers and they have 50,000 impressions, and it looks very good on paper, but when you really look between the lines, it's like just a bunch of engagement farming and botted followers in reality. So I think one of the classic mistakes is to fall for some of these botted creators. Then second one I would say is the messaging that is all off. Because when you do a collaboration with a creator, what you really get is you get the text that stands in their tweet or in their YouTube video, what they're saying. And especially if you invest a lot of it, you need to make sure that it is a banger of a post. Because if it's not a banger, it's going to get very low engagement, and now you're going to lose out on so much value because you have poor messaging or you didn't spend time on crafting a campaign or something like that. So I would say botted, these are probably the two biggest pain points. It's like working with botted creators and then horrible content or post or material that you give to the creator. Low amount of smart followers. I think smart followers is one of the most important metrics to track. It gives you an indicator of how good quality their audience is. No tracking. Typically I see people, they just shoot left and right without tracking anything, and then they say, oh, this doesn't work, and then it's you should definitely track some different metrics. No campaign structure. I think doing random creator promotion versus having a well-structured campaign where creators is a part of is such a big difference in terms of result. And I'm going to go into a few examples later on. Few other mistakes is picking the wrong creators for your specific niche. So for example, if you have you're launching on Solana, good idea is to work with some Solana creators and not work with some other more generic ones or something like this. So how do you actually work with creators in 2026? So I would say, first of all, one of the most important parts when working with creators, especially when you work with the great creators, this is what they expect, is to have the expectations very clear of what the deal is gonna look like. So deliverables, timeline, and also compensation. But then also to communicate well with the creator. Because if you're very poor at communicating and do like the deal is very unprofessional and you just go back and forth, now the creator is like, okay, I'm gonna do it, but I'm not excited about doing this, or like the deal doesn't really make sense for me. And what you really want to do is you want to get the creator excited about the deal, because then there's gonna be more effort in from their side. So I've put a few examples here, and this is like how to align the brand a bit more with the creator, and also being transparent that they are an ambassador or whatever it is, right? Then I would also prep a proper campaign brief, because whenever you start to look in the deal and the partnership, you also want to say like, oh, this is the campaign that we're gonna run, and this is like gonna be the messaging, and this is how we want to do it. Just in order to manage the expectation quite clearly, so you don't look in the deal and then you want them to shill your token, and now the creator doesn't want that, right? So I would say prep a proper campaign brief, and then number 4 is to vet the followers. So at Lunar, we use probably these tools daily, but it's Kaito and Cookie3. So basically use different analytics tools to vet the creators that you work with, to make sure that they have a high smart follower count. And basically, you can track how many VCs, how many creators, how many investors, how many builders that is following this creator. And it gives you an indicator of how good quality the audience is, essentially. Then I would also spend some extra time on scouting and finding the right creators for your brand specifically. So if you're DeFi focused, really look at the DeFi creators that makes a lot of DeFi content. And then lastly, I see so many people, they just want to do like one-offs, collabs, but in marketing, on a fundamental level in marketing, you typically need 5 to 6 touch points with the audience in order to convert them into a user. And it's the same thing with influence marketing or creator marketing, where you want to get multiple touch points with them. So I always recommend to do start off with like one collaboration to see how it goes, see how you feel with this creator, and then structure a more long-term deal. So maybe like 2 months with a few deliverables and support across 2 months. And this is just to get those multiple touch points with the audience, right? I'm gonna go into a little bit more the user journey and stuff like that after in a second here. So yeah, touching upon this, typically how we work is with a more traditional marketing funnel. I think this one has stood the test of time. It's been around, and it's been proven by different studies and stuff like that. But basically, whenever you see a brand for the first time, it's very rare that you go in and deposit or you buy something for the first time when you have just seen a brand. So typically, what you need to do is you need to get 5 to 6 different touch points with your audience in order to convert them into a user. So typically how we structure the different campaigns is in 3 different phases. And the top one is typically like the awareness phase. This is just getting an introduction out there to your brand. So basically the main objective is just to get awareness and making a nice introduction, like this is us, we are here, this is why you should care about us, and you really just focus on getting as much reach as possible. That's the number 1 goal here. Then we have the mid funnel, and this is maybe when they have started to follow your brand and you start to do get them more to consider like, oh, why should I deposit here versus here, or why should I become a user here? So this is like more like the why phase. You shift the messaging a little bit to get people to become more interested, or if you have some sort of like incentive, or like this is our business model and this is why you should care about us, right? And then lastly, we have the bottom funnel, which is the user acquisition part of it. So here it maybe can either be like some incentive campaign, or here you really want to track like deposits or new users or sign-ups or whatever kind of metric that you have. This is like the conversion stage, right? But also like one of the mistakes that I see a lot of people do is that they work with some creators and they expect people to convert right away whenever they have just seen your brand once. And it doesn't really work like that, because if you just think about yourself, if you see a brand for the first time, would you go in and deposit $10,000 into this protocol? Most likely not, right? So you always got to keep in mind that you want to get multiple touch points with the audience, basically. Going into a little bit how to select creators to work with, because I think like the influencer or the creator side of things in crypto, it's a little bit like a jungle. There's so many creators, there's so much engagement and views, and most of it is just bots and these engagement groups. So I would say one of the key things that we always do, and now we have like a vetted network of thousands of creators, but I would say one of the main things that you should do right away is look up the profiles on Cookie or Kaito and track the smart metrics. This is like number 1, this is step number 1. And then I would make sure that you pick the right ones within your niche. So either like DeFi ones or Solana creators or something like this. And then I think this is the most basic one or most fundamental one that a lot of people skip, and I see so many people work with these horrible creators. But just check the feed, check the content. Is this good content? Would somebody follow this creator for the content that they're creating? I would say that's like the fundamental test that you should do with the creators. Like, does this content make sense? Is this good content? Would I follow this creator based on the content that they create? So I would say those are like the top ones when selecting your creators. And then also looking at the views versus the price. So basically checking, is this going to be a return on investment? We typically measure the CPM, which is cost per 1,000 views. So we try to be below 50. Typically for our creator wire deals, we are around like 20 to 30 cost per 1,000 view with a high density of smart followers. And I guess that's a good indicator of getting a good return on investment with your marketing budget. Messaging framework. So whenever you do a collaboration with a creator, in reality what you get is you get a piece of text that is going to be on the timeline. People are going to scroll by it, or they're going to stick around and they're going to read it. That's what you actually get when you do a collaboration on X, right? So you really want to make sure that the messaging is in place. So every single word is going to count here, and especially like the headline and making sure, and the visuals, so like making like some infographic or making something really attention grabbing, right, for the brief. So always make a content brief and make some nice guidelines for the creator to create content around. And then a bonus is to make some exciting campaign around it, right? So let's say you have some nice campaign and then the creator makes some content and now everybody gets excited about it, right? I think that's the number one thing. So yeah, make sure that you have a really good brief, good visual, and also good copy. This is what you actually get, and this is where you want people to stop scrolling to actually check it out. So make sure that the brief is really good, because this is like 50% of the creator marketing is just making a really nice brief and a well-structured campaign around it. Going into a little bit of tracking. So I see so many people, they say, this doesn't work, and they track different links. And typically, in my experience, links doesn't work very well, and I will explain why. And it's not that these creators typically, it's not necessarily that the creators are bad creators, or that they doesn't have any influence or anything like that, but it is often that you just lose the attribution. Because on X, typically nobody likes to press a link on X, or if there's a link in a post, nobody presses the links in the post. One, X doesn't reward links in posts. It actually deboosts the posts if you put the link in the post, because they don't want people to leave X, the platform, right? So that's number one. And then also typically the user journey looks like, the audience sees your post once, then they continue to scroll. Maybe they read it. They see you twice. Oh, okay, this looks cool. Continue to scroll. And then next time, maybe they check your X profile and they say like, oh, I'm gonna follow this guy. Looks pretty cool. Looks interesting. And then maybe they go to your website. Maybe they take a look at the website a little bit, and then they don't do anything, and then they go back to X and scroll a little bit, right? And then maybe they see your post again, and maybe you post like this incentive campaign, and now like, oh, incentive campaign, oh, it's gonna end on Friday, and now maybe the user starts to take any sort of action, but now the link from the influencers has already been forgotten, and like the attribution is typically that it goes from seeing your brand a few times to going to your X, reading up on the website, and then finally deposit. So the attribution to the link loses very, very easily. And maybe it was that this influencer was the reason, but that for the deposit, but it's very easy to lose the attribution and lose the tracking, which is why if you do links, it's gonna perform very well, and you're gonna think that it doesn't work. But what you really want is you want to get multiple creators to talk about you, so you get all of these different touch points and different backlinks to your brand, and then somebody will come into your X and go into to your website and then deposit, right? So typically some of the key parts that I like to track for our campaigns is the CPM, which is cost per 1,000 views. Obviously smart followers, smart metrics. So like if it goes up in smart followers and stuff like that after the campaigns, views, engagement, and then track the different correlation between spike in traffic, spike in followers, spike in smart followers, spike in users, deposits. When you do the campaign and correlation, like that is something that is more relevant to track than to put a link in every single post, I would say. It will give you a more accurate picture of if it works or not. So at Luna, we've actually created our own tracking dashboard. So we've built this out, and it fetches everything from X, and it basically tracks all of the different relevant metrics that you want to know for a campaign. So we have the average CPM, and then we have the CPM per creator, which you can see down here. Engagement rates, how many posts that they have done, engagement, impressions, which profile, top performer. And I know there is a lot of different tools that you can use and have all of these different features, but after 6 years, this is like the fundamentals that you want to know. So it's not too much data. It's like just the essential data that you need for a creator program. So it's the CPM, and then also we have you can also add links if you want, but basically this is like the key things that you want to track whenever you run an ambassador program or any sort of like creator campaign, right? So yeah, I think that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know.